I'll go to a frontline person and say, what's the mission of this company?
No clue.
They have no idea. They have no idea.
So,
and this can be a real problem.
what do you tell CEOs or leaders of big companies that have multiple lines, underneath them that don't have the time to train them personally, but they have someone underneath them to train, who's training them, who's training them? How do you coach those individuals?
It's real easy. The guy says to me, hey, we failed this project. And I said, oh, well, why did we fail that project? Oh, because of Bill, the frontline manager. Oh, okay, who's in charge of Bill? It's Mike. Oh, okay, who's in charge of Mike? Fred. Who's in charge of Fred?
The leader, the CEO. Yeah.
I am. Yeah, that's right. You're in charge of Fred. So that means you need to make sure that your intent is felt all the way down through the chain of command.
How do we do that?
That's leadership. This is why I have a consulting business, because this is what you have to do. Yeah. Because the larger a company gets, look, when I'm in charge of 8 people,
it's easier.
Everybody knows what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. I see them every day. I can sit in one room and talk to them all face to face. On the battlefield, you're in charge of a fire team. A fire team has 4 or 5 people in it. Even in combat, you can control 4 or 5 people. 8 people, you actually can't control anymore. In a firefight, you can't control 8 people. That's why the Army, the Marine Corps, around the whole world, it's like 4 or 5 people in a fire team. That's what the base unit is. Wow. In the corporate world, you can handle a little bit more than that because there's no explosions happening, there's no gunfire. Yeah. So you can control 8 people, 10 people, something like that. That's kind of what the normal corporate structure breaks out as. But the bigger you get, the more you have to rely on those subordinate leaders to spread the word, to understand what the mission is, to understand what the end state is, to understand why they're doing what they're doing. That's what you have to do as a leader. And when you do that, there was plenty of missions that I went on where I was the ground force commander in charge of 30 or 40 SEALs or 100 SEALs and Iraqi soldiers combined together. Plenty of operations like that. You know how many people I talked to? I would talk to 3.
Right.
I would talk to the 2 platoon commanders and the mobility commander.
Yeah.
And everybody, and then they would talk to their 2 or 3 people, and then their people would talk to their 2 or 3 people.
So how do you get that message across to hundreds or thousands if that's in your organization?
There's a bunch of different ways. So in a big organization, this is something that we come across. I mean, we work with companies. I think the biggest company we worked with is 167,000 employees. 167,000 employees global, right? So they're all over the place. So how do you get the message? Well, there's a bunch of things that you have to do. Number one, you have to make sure that your message is simple, clear, and concise, right? You gotta communicate in a way that even that frontline trooper can understand what you're talking about. Now you have to translate that up and down the chain of command, because if you're my chief operating officer, obviously the level of detail that I go into with you and the chief financial officer, that's going to be higher. You guys need to, we need to be in a deeper level of conversation and understanding. But I need to make sure that you know how to translate that down to your next level. And then that person knows how to translate it down to their next level and all the way through the chain of command. There's companies where I'll go into the CEO and we'll be talking, I'll say, so how well does everyone understand what your mission is here? And he'll say, oh, absolutely. I'll go to a frontline person and say, what's the mission of this company? They have no idea. They have no idea. And this can be a real problem. This can be a real, obviously this can be a real problem, but it becomes a real problem when if you're a frontline troop and you don't understand what the mission is, you can make bad decisions on the front line. So there are certain companies at certain stages where the most important thing they can do is be cost effective. Save money, right? And that's, if a frontline troop needs to make a decision about, hey, should I redo this thing right now, which is going to cost us a little bit more money, or should I just let it go with a little bit lower standard? Well, if what you're focused on is saving money, that guy says, oh, okay, you know what? I'm going to let this go even though the standard is a little bit lower. That's a decision that can get made. But what if your focus right now, maybe you got some bad reviews from consumers, and so your focus is to make quality perfect, even if you have to expend a little bit more money. If the frontline troop knows that, he goes, wait a second, this isn't quite where we want it, so he redoes it. It costs a little bit more money, but we're now achieving the mission at that time. And guess what? As you can probably figure out, the mission changes because we will work with a company where what are they trying to do right now? They're trying to maximize profits for this quarter because they're going public and they need 4 quarters in a row or 6 quarters in a row where they see that increasing. So, okay, guess what kind of decisions they're making? Now, can you go too far with that? Absolutely. Yeah. And now you get the frontline truth that goes, hey, I don't care. I'll put out as many as I possibly can. It's going to be dirt cheap and I save the company a bunch of money. But now we end up with bad quality out there and we will get a bad reputation and that'll hurt us strategically.
Right.
So how do you get that message out there? You have to, number one, make sure it's simple. And then you communicate it.
What's a simple message for like I guess it depends on the company, but.
It depends on the company.
Yeah. But should a simple message be like one sentence, you mean? Or should it be simple to understand?
Simple to understand.
Yeah.
The more, and what we'll do with companies is we'll do a drill, we'll work on their mission, it's kind of their mission statement, but then also their mantra, or maybe a couple mantras where, in this case, hey, it's quality over quantity. Right. And now a frontline person's making decisions based on that, right? And so there's a couple mantras, 2, 3 mantras that the people can refer back to that helps them guide their decision-making process. And then on top of that, they have like a little bit more detailed mission statement where they can say, wait a second, I know the mantra says this, but it also says we're supposed to take care of our customers. And if I let this go, then my customers won't be taken care of. I need to adjust a little bit.